think Christians feel that need to give instruction and judgment? I mean, what place is that coming from?
Well, I mean, in my opinion, we want the world to know what God thinks in various matters. Because God means so much to us, and that we know who God is, and we want everybody to know who God is, because God is so good. We want to share God with everybody, and so it's understandable why that we want the whole world to know where God stands on certain matters, and in addition, where we stand with God in this matter.
Yeah.
So in a way, it's more about allegiance to God.
Yeah.
So Christians do that a lot. I mean, I'm in there as well. We do that a lot. We tell the world about what God thinks about a certain matter. We often quote the Bible.
Yeah.
We often say the Bible says this, or so that therefore we have to do this.
Yeah.
So again, I think it's about showing the world where our allegiance lie. And again, I don't think that is something negative. I don't think that is something bad. I think it's something commendable. However, when we are doing that, we also have to remember, who we're talking to. And that we have to remember that God did not ask us to just love Him. At the same breath, we are also to love man.
Yes.
So while we are trying to stand with God, and give our allegiance to Him, at the same time we have to care and love for one another, for the people that He placed in our path. And sometimes, as a psychologist, I do see that we tend to put a priority on having allegiance to God, and at the expense of showing our love and concern for people.
It's just good for us to reflect on our own responses for people struggling or going through figuring things out about their own personal lives, their personal space. To have someone from the outside making a judgment on a space so personal, it is confronting, and also it's stepping into my personal space. And I think that as Christian ministers or people serving one another, we need to respect that personal space that person has opened up to, and to hold it as sacred. For someone to open up that kind of thing to us, we do need to be careful in that sense. And
oh yes, I think the first thing that we need to note is how difficult it is to be open about something so personal. I think that it is common knowledge that among Christian circles, in order to share about same-sex attraction, for example, with another of the same faith in a community of faith, that is something very difficult, because there is direct conflict between what we believe and what we experience. So if we experience same-sex attraction that is in contrast, to what we believe God has designed sexuality to be, and when that happens, there's already a major conflict internally, and so that conflict would drive people to be away from the community. So if, let's say, somebody have taken up that courage to share with another in the community, then we ought to give that person the space, the space that
the
he
respect.
and she needs, and also the empathy that is such a difficult thing already.
Yes.
And I think that we need to listen.
Yep.
We need to listen to their story. We need to be interested in them as a person, not the subject matter. And I think that we err on trying to focus so much on the subject matter that we forget the person. We literally focus on what is the sexual ethics rather than who is this person with the sexuality. So when we do that, we tend to alienate the person even more. And I know that we don't intentionally do that. But what is not intended doesn't mean that the person who's listening to us may not experience or perceive us doing that. So I think that we have to be careful, and the first thing that we have to note is our posture, in a sense, are we listening or are we trying to make a point?
Yeah.
So I would ask that, you know, individuals who have this privilege in being allowed into that personal space, as you mentioned before, you know, that they find themselves in this privileged position, and that they, you know, I think we would do better if we just listen to what the person has to say regarding his or her story, regarding his or her struggles. Rather than telling the other person what we think about the subject matter, what we think should be done.
Yeah.
I think that's the first thing maybe we can think about and consider.
Yep. Great, thank you. That concludes our first segment. Indeed, it is a privilege for anyone to hear a personal story and a personal difficulty or journey that someone is going through. And I think Dr. Hera has highlighted to us that many of our well-intentioned efforts in giving advice or dispensing some kind of instruction or may actually be counterproductive to what we're trying to do. It may alienate the other person or make the person feel unsafe to be with us or to share further, and it might close conversations. And so this is all for our first segment. To be the first to see our clips, subscribe to us by clicking on the subscribe button below. Share your thoughts with us by commenting below, or if you have a question for Dr. Hera, send it over to us at hosts@safespace.my. And come back next week where we will talk about why the struggle or the journey in figuring out sexual identity is particularly perplexing for those who are experiencing it. See you next time.